We're holding a daf nun Zion but Alf, 12 lines on the bottom. We are 5784, and we're continuing based on the last year. Last year, towards the end, we were talking about, we had a Braita that compared, there were certain things that if a guy, a kuti, would do, he would be chayiv mita, right? One of them was gezel. We said, a gezel, that means the ganav, a gazlan, someone who takes someone's yafas toar, and similar stuff to this. And then he went kuti, could be Yisrael, when it's aser, when it's mutter. What does it mean aser? What does it mean mutter? Is it really aser, or is it actually pater and chayiv? Okay, we dealt with all that. The Braita said kiyotze behen. There's something like stealing, something that's similar to stealing, that also has the dinim of stealing. It's not actual stealing, but it's similar to stealing. So that's where our Gemara picks up to today. What is something that considered similar to stealing? It's only if someone is working in a field, someone is brought into work into a vineyard, and he's eating the grapes. That is something that's similar to stealing, because he has permission to be there, but he's eating the grapes. So Gemara says, 1 second, when is he eating these grapes? When is he eating these grapes? If when they are harvesting the grapes, well, heterahu, there's actually a halacha based on a pasuk that tells us that if your worker is working during the harvest season, he's allowed to eat those grapes. It's a heter, it's mutter, it's permissible. There's no gezerah there. If it's not during the harvest season, the final processing, so gazmayu, then it's bona fide. It is legit stealing. It's not like stealing. It's not similar to robbery. It is gazel. So that can't be the case, because either a worker in the vineyard, he is allowed to eat it as he's working with the grapes during the harvest season, or it's not the harvest season, he's not allowed to eat it, and then it's actual stealing. So that cannot be something that's similar. It's stealing or not. Say the Rababa, there is another opinion, what it is, another idea, what it could be. If something that was stolen was less than a shava pruta. Okay, basically, when a Jew steals from another Jew, we know he has to return it. Okay, he has the dinim of returning, whether he has to give back double, whether it's give 4 or 5, whatever it is, he has to give it back. But we have a din by Jewish people that pahut mishava pruta, if something is less than a shava pruta, something is worth less than a penny, let's say, okay, then he doesn't have to return it. It doesn't really have a shame gzela. You're not allowed to do it, but it's not stealing, because stealing means you're going to have to return it, and you can't return something less than a shava pruta. So when it says stealing by goyim, that there be hayab mita for stealing and stuff similar to stealing, it's when the guy steals from another guy, or he steals from a Jew, something that's worth less than a shava pruta, something worth less than a penny. The Gemara says, 1 second, how do you explain this part? Could be Yisrael aser. If a guy steals from a Jew, that's aser. Aser meaning he will chayav mita. Habar mechilahu, but the Jew is one who pardons. The reason why we say, this is what Rashi explains, we say that when a Jew steals from another Jew less than a shava pruta, we don't prosecute. That's because a Jew usually is moichel, the money of less than a shava pruta. Therefore, if the Jew is going to be mochel that money, why are we killing the guy who stole it? Because the guy who steals it, the Jew is going to be mochel it. So let him be mochel. The more answers, nehi devater hachi mechele, because even though the Jew is going to forgive him, so Ada bishatimi leisley, did he not have some anguish at the time of the robbery? Meaning, you're right, the Jew is eventually going to forgive him, but during that moment, there was some pain that he had, and therefore it's considered gzela. Therefore, it's considered a form of gzela, and he's going to get killed for that small amount. The Gemara says, can it really be that this is considered kiyotze behen? This is similar to robbery. Kuti bikuti kiyotze behen. So you're saying if a guy steals from another guy, that's similar to stealing, but it's not. It is stealing. Since goyim, more elsewhere says, they're considered achzarim, very cruel people, and they're not mochal even less than a penny. They fight for every penny. So therefore, when a guy steals from another guy, even less than a Shabbat Pruta is considered stealing. It's not considered like stealing. It is stealing. Therefore, this cannot be the kayotza behen, the similar to stealing, because it doesn't fit the formula of the Mishnah. Kayotza behen, the formula of the Braita, kayotza behen means similar. This is not similar. This is stealing. When a guy steals from another guy, less than Shabbat Pruta, that is stealing. So Elam Rabacha Bereid of Ika, and this is the case. Loinitzacha Elo Lechovish Sechar Sechir. Kuti Yisrael Aser, Yisrael Bikuti Mutar. What is this case? The case of a boss not paying his worker. Because the way Rashi explains, stealing means you have something and I take it from you. That's stealing. Stealing is not when you don't have it and I'm just not giving it to you. When I'm the boss, I'm not supposed to give you money and I don't give it to you. That's similar to stealing, but it's not actually stealing. Because actual stealing means you have something and I'm taking it from you. You didn't have the money. I'm just not giving it to you. Now, that is the case of kayotze behen. And if a guy did that, he'd be hayav mita. Now, the Mefarshim Yad Rama asks, is this seems to be gzela, right? So this is a similar to gzela. Gzela again is in broad daylight. You're stealing. Everybody knows, right? You're just you're not. So how does this work? Is it also gneva? Gneva means where you're stealing it and you're trying to be secretive about it. Is it similar in both cases? The Yad Rama says yes. There are two types of work of a boss who doesn't pay his worker. You have one who's like the Goslin. The worker comes and says, "Pay me." He says, "No, I'm not paying you. Yeah, you worked for me and everything. I'm not paying you." That is like a Goslin, and that's similar to a bandit in broad daylight. Okay. Now the Geneva one is when you go to the boss and you tell the boss, "Pay me." And he says, "But I already paid you," or he says, "I don't remember hiring you." Or he comes up with other excuses to not pay you. And that's similar to Geneva, because Geneva is, again, secretive. Or Xela, the guy just does it just like that. So those would be similar cases to a stealing, and a guy would be chayiv on it. So let's just stop for a moment in the Gemara. We're going to look in the Rambam. Okay? The Rambam, Sefer Malachim, Perek Tes, Halacha Tes. Listen what he writes over here. Beinoah chayev al hagezel, ben shegozel akum, ben shegozel Yisrael. A guy is chayav mita whether he steals from a Jew or he steals from a guy. Ve'echad hagezel or a goynev moment or goynev nafesh. Whether he steals in broad daylight or he steals secretive or he kidnaps or chovesh sachar sachir v'chayotzevo or he holds back payment and stuff similar to that. Or if he's a worker in the vineyard and they're not harvesting and he eats the grapes when he's not allowed to, al hakol hu chayav, on everything he's chayav mita. Verehu b'chlal gazlan, he's considered like a real stealer. Masha'en kim be'Yisrael. That's not the way we look at Jewish law by Jews. V'chein chayav apachim shavah pruta, and so too if he steals less than a shavah pruta. And Rambam gives an interesting case. Let's say a guy steals from another guy less than a penny, and then a third guy comes and steals from the guy who stole it. So Shnein Nohargin Aleh. So these two last people who stole, one stole less than a penny, and the other guy came and stole the other that same less than a penny. Both of those who stole, both of them are executed. Okay, executed by the sword. That is the halacha by a guy and stealing. Okay. Now the Braita say kayotzeba. Similar. And another case was bifat to'ar. My he. Bifat to'ar. This was a case in the Braita was that if a guy takes his other guy's wife in battle, right? He takes her, and we said that's hayamita. So what's similar to that? If a ben Noach, if a guy, he has a slave and a slave woman, and he gives the slave woman to be a wife for his slave, and then the guy himself is with the slave woman, has intimate relations with her. Nahareg Aleya, he's executed on her account. Okay, Rashi says because he's stealing, it's Chayav al Gazel. He's stealing this woman is meant for someone else, and he's being with her, and therefore he's Chayav Mita. The Rambam and the Ran take a different approach. So just going to read the Rambam over here. Give me 1 second. Okay, the Rambam. Again, this is the Rambam on these halachas, and he's saying as follows. Okay, say from Malachim, Perek Tes, Halacha Ches. Says the Rambam, Vein Noach, he designates his slave woman for his slave, and he then has interrelations with her. You kill him, you have to kill the guy because he is with his friend's wife. It's someone else's wife. He's only hayav if he said it before. She explained. He said, this woman is for that. That's the slave woman is for that slave man. He didn't say that, then he's not going to be hayav. Now, when does she become mutter again for him? And we're going to see this later on in the daf also. Unions for goyim. When are they considered in a union? That if a guy is with another guy's wife, he's hayav mitah. We're going to see. So similar. So let's see what Rambam. When does the slave woman come heter for her master to be with him again? When she separates from her slave husband, and she goes with her hair uncovered in the marketplace. So obviously, in the days of old, all women who were in some sort of relationship were covering their hair. So she separates from him, and the sign of it would be that her hair is uncovered. So once they separate and they're not anymore in a committed relationship, so then she becomes mutter to her master again. And now the Rambam now talks about a stama case. A guy has a friend who's a guy, and he's married to a woman. No, so if you have a guy who's married to a Goyish woman, when are they considered divorced? They don't have gittin like us. So when are they considered divorced? The Rambam says, he sends her out of the house and sends her on her own. Or if she leaves, and she goes on her own way. She leaves herself. She comes out of the relationship. They don't have gittin. And it's not just totally in that. Portion. Once they both, or one or the other, don't want to be in the relationship, then they're not considered into the relationship. So you got to be in some sort of consent with each other, these guys, in order to be considered in a union. You can call it marriage for lack of better terms. But then if a guy is with his friend's wife while they're in a committed relationship, he's going to be hayav mitah that he's with his friend's wife because she is considered in a civil union, so to speak, with that man, and it has legal status. Solomon, yes.
Need a clarification.
Mm-hmm.
We know, as an owner, I guess, the slave woman and the slave man are both belonging to him, right?
Right.
To the master. And
right.
We also know that the masters usually encourage them to produce future generation because the children also belong to the master.
Right. Value, money, yeah.
Yes. So now the question is, by giving her to the slave as a wife, does he lose the total control over her?
No, he doesn't. The monetary. The
she
monetary
always
value is still his. Everything is still his. But since he designated her to be a wife to that slave man, she now becomes forbidden to him because she is in a committed relationship with someone else. Therefore, he's going to be intimate with her. He's chayav mitah because she is considered an ashish ish for goyim. Does that clarify it?
looks like he loses some degree of authority over her.
So what happens is her status becomes that she's in a committed relationship. He doesn't lose authority over her, but rather he cannot be with her intimately. He cannot have relations with her because she is now in a committed relationship. So she is considered a married woman. And if he has relations with her, he's committing adultery and he's chayav mitah.
So if she decides to leave the slave,
then he can be with her again.
She goes back to her original status.
Yeah, and he can be with her.
Wow.
Better yet, you can say as follows: if he never designated her for him, okay, meaning that they just hooked up, to use a lack of better terms, right? And they were just being together, but he never said that this slave woman is for that slave man. And then if he's with her, there's not a problem, okay, because they can't get into relationships themselves. They're slaves, I'm assuming, right? That's why she said he has to designate, and he designates her to be this slave's wife. Then she becomes his wife, and then he can't be with her because she's now someone's wife. But if they were just mating, right, and he took her and had his way with her, then he's not going to be chayav mitah. It's only that she got designated as a wife.
Understood. So what is
Okay.
the advantage for the master to designate her to someone else? I don't see no.
Maybe just thinking outside the box. Maybe he has a bunch of slaves, but he has one of them that's really strong, right? And she's also strong or beautiful, whatever that is. And he wants them to mate, and he wants her just to be designated to him. So he makes that designation so the other slaves know to keep hands off, right? And now that he designated her, now she becomes the nation's ish to that slave, and if he's with her, he's going to be chayav mitah. Maybe that's the story. I mean, I'm just conjecturing, but that could make sense. Okay, moving on. Then the next case. But to say something is similar to killing, to murder, that we don't teach. That we don't have. Before we move on from there, that we don't have. What about killing somebody by accident? So this is overall the question. Shoygeg by a guy. All right. So we already know that by a guy, we don't need to have only one witness, one judge, and no warning. If the guy does something by accident, let's say he doesn't have he kills someone by accident, right? So we have in Judaism, if you kill someone by total accident, nothing. If someone kills someone by accident, there's some negligence, then he has to go to Ari Miklat, right? Does this concept of Shoygeg killing work by Goyim as well, or not? So there's actually a machloket Rishonim. I'm going to read to you from here in the Yalkut Beurim in the Mesivta, and he says, Das Rashi, the Masechtas Makos. So Rashi, Masechta Makot says, if a guy killed a guy by a complete accident, we still kill him. It doesn't make a difference. Anytime a guy is over anyone of the Shevet Bnei Noach, doesn't matter if it was on purpose or by accident, you kill him. That's Rashi. Well, that's a Rambam, but the Rambam and the Yad Ramah, they say no. Shebei Noach potter al hashoygeg. Really, if he did something by complete accident, he is potter. Verlach below hatrochai. Rather, he just doesn't need a warning if he does something. But if he does something by complete accident, he is potter. But the Rambam makes one condition on this, and the Rambam says, "Imhu oimer mutter chayav mitam mipnei loy lilmoi v'loy lamed." He should have learned, and he didn't. Meaning, if the guy thought that murder was permissible, and that's why he was going around and killing people, then you kill him, because that's not shoygig. He's killing because he thinks it's okay, but he's killing on purpose. So you kill him because he should have known that it's not okay. Killing a complete accident by a guy that he's potter, according to the Rambam, that means he's killing by accident. And he was painting on his rooftop, and then the whole thing fell down on someone and killed him. Okay, so that is a complete accident. So then he's potter. But if he killed because he thought it was mutter, that's not considered shaygeg, and he'll be hayab mita. So that is, I believe that the Chlok Rishonim is in all 7 of the Shavas of Noach. All the Shavas of Noach. According to Rashi, I don't care if it's a shogeg or not, accident or not, you're chayav mita. Rambam, yeah, there is such a thing of shogeg by a guy. Okay, so kayotzebo by murder. What's something similar to murder? We didn't teach it. Amrabaya, ima shkachet the Tanya. If you find a brighter that does teach it, it's Rabbi Yonatan ben Shaul, who it's Rabbi Yonatan ben Shaul. The Tanya he taught, Rabbi Yonatan ben Shaul Omer, Rodei, Achar Chaveru Lehargo. If you pursue, if one pursues his fellow to kill him, okay, someone is running after someone to kill him. The guy who's running away, he could, and he has a gun on him, and he can shoot the guy who's pursuing him, and he can shoot him in the foot or the hand and stop it. But he did not save himself this way, but rather he killed the pursuer. Now Horig Olav. You kill that guy. So if Tony's following, chasing after Jack. He wants to kill Jack. Jack takes out his gun. He can shoot him in the arm or in the leg and maim him and stop the whole thing. But instead, he decides to go for the kill shot in the head or the heart. He'll be hayav mita because he could have saved himself other ways. Let's just take a look in the Rambam. The Rambam's din ben Noach shaharag, and we're going to see more of this in a moment in the Gemara, but right now, just take a look at the Rambam. But no shaharak, nefesh, a guy who kills anyone. Afilu ubar b'mei imo naharagalav. Even a fetus in its mother's womb, you kill the guy, even for abortion, even for the fetus. Not the same din by Jews. The Gemara neither tells us that a Jew to be chayav mitah, the baby has to already be born, it has to be able to live a month, and then if it kills him, then it's chayav mitah. It's also to do. You get punished in punishment from shemayim, but you're not chayav mitah from beitin unless the baby is already born. It's a month, and then he doesn't. It says further in the Rambam, the guy if he kills someone who's going to die anyway within the year. If he captured someone and he put him in front of a lion to be killed, or he gave him no food until he died. Since this guy died, he's considered the one who killed him, and you kill the guy. And if he was able to save himself by hitting the other guy's limbs, and he killed him, you kill him because he killed the other guy. Not the same. Not the same when a Jew does these stuff. Okay, so a guy, you take a very strong approach. The guy should beitin of bnei Noach, any type of murder, immediately he gets killed. Okay, let's take a look on top of Nun Zayin Amud Aleph. We're on 57 B1. Ashkach Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achob. The Hava Ketibah Sefer Agadat Rav. They found a statement in the Yeshiva Beirav. Beinoach Nahara B'dayin Echad. You kill a guy with one judge, with one witness, with no warning, but it has to be from a man. It has to be the witness and the judge and not a woman. And even a relative, because of Bishmal, they say, even on a fetus. How do we know this? How do we know all this? Dinim. Because it says in the pasuk, if we take a look at Torah Shalom Aleph and Base. So it's really coming in Parshas Noach, I believe, where Noach is being told, commit murder, they're going to be killed. Okay, and right before that pasuk, it tells us another whole pasuk about punishment. And this pasuk seems to be extra. So based on the seemingly extra pasuk, we learn a drush. We learn halachot from it. The Amar Kra says in the pasuk, Ach etimchemu nafshotechem edrosh. However, your blood of your souls I will seek. That means the word edrosh is singular. It's lashon yachid. I feel b'dayin echad. Even one judge. Miyad kol chaya. From every living thing, says the Yad Ramah. Chaya also means animal. right? You don't give a warning to an animal. You kill the animal. If you kill the animal, you don't have to give a warning. I feel so too by a guy, no warning. Edrushenu umiyada adam. I will seek it from the hand of man. Afilu be'ed echad. That means you can even have one witness, one judge, one witness. Miyad ish, lo miyad isha. From the hand of a man and not from the hand of a woman. It means a woman cannot participate in being a witness. And we already learned anyone who's kosher to be a witness is kosher to be a judge. And since she's not kosher to be a witness, she cannot be a judge. Achiv, brother, afilu karav, even a relative. That's the tukum that you learned it. Sure, Bishmal Amru. In the name of Bishmal, they say Af Alu Barin, even fetuses, right? And Lachlamaisa, Rambam learns that way. Kill guy kills a fetus is chayamita. My time of Bishmal. Where does he get this? He says, you got to read this pasuk. The next pasuk. Chtiv. Shofech dam ha'adam ba'adam damo yishafech. Right? You spill his blood. He says, how do you read this? You read it. Shefoch dam ha'adam ba'adam. You spill the blood of a man inside a man. So Ezu Adam Shubu Adam. When do you have a human that's inside another human? This must be a fetus in its mother's womb. That's the way, that's Rabbi Shmuel, that's where he learns that if you kill a fetus, because it says, Shayfech Dama Adam Ba'adam, in a person. The Tanakama, and the Tanakama does not learn about the fetus. What does he do with this pasuk? The Tanakama tells him, Menashe, who? Oh, the Tanakama doesn't bring down the story of the fetus, the case of the fetus. He is the B'nai Menashe, the Shiva B'nai Menashe. We already saw this last week, the Shiva, the Academy of Menashe. But Omar, he says a different din, because up until now I've been telling you the halacha l'maisa, the Rambam Paskins, that if a guy is over one of the Shivas B'nai Noach, you kill him with a sword. But Tana Devei Menashe, the Shiva Menashe, they had a different opinion. The Omer called me to Omer B'nai Noach. Anytime you kill a guy, you kill him with strangulation. Why? Because the same pasuk. You have to translate the pasuk a little different. We read the pasuk shayfich dam ha'adam ba'adam. You spilled the blood of a man in a man. He says no. Read the pasuk. Shayfich dam ha'adam. Over spilled the blood of a person. But Adam, in that man, the mo yishafech, you spill the blood inside of him. Ujosh behacha. But Adam, the mo yishafech, you spill the blood inside the man. Ezo shichas dam shel Adam shebegupa shel Adam. Well, when you have a killing, that the killing is done inside the body, hare heavy armor zeh chenik. This is strangulation, because when you chop the guy's head off, the blood rushes out, comes outside the body. So how do you kill someone and the blood is spilled inside? That is strangulation. And that's the way that Yeshiva Menashe, they would learn the punishment of a guy. Okay. So we saw it said miyad ish miyad isha. So it says motiv Rav Huna. Rav Huna had a question. The isha loy mifkada, and a woman is not part of the courts. Where do we learn the word courts from? Because the pasuk that we learned it from was Vayitzav, right? The last pasuk in Torah Shalom Bavli here. Vayitzav Hashem Elokim al Adam Lamar Kol Eitza Agan or Chol Tochel. And we said the word Vayitzav teaches us about dinim, because you have Avram Avinu where it says that Torah Shalom Gimel Ki Yadativ L'man Asher Yitzaved Banav Et Beito Acharav V'Shamru Derech Hashem La'asot Tzedakah Mishpat, right? And it says Asher Yitzaveh, that's how we learn. It means that you have to do tzedakah or mishpat, which means judgment. And there it says beto. So it should include women. And it says beto, and it says household, which includes women, and do tzedakah or mishpat. So why shouldn't a woman be part of it? He asked it and he answered it. That's the best question. You ask and you answer. What's the answer? Banav ledin. The sons of Avram, when it says in the pasuk Banav, the children are doing the din, and Beto and the household is doing tzedakah, and they're doing righteousness. What tzedakah mean over here? So there's at least one mefarish that wants to say tzedakah means that women can be in the court system as those who make compromises, because tzedakah is considered a compromise. Instead of getting to the actual law, you compromise it between the two parties. Others say no, they can't do that either. What it means here, tzedakah, it means tzedakah. It means that the women have a job in society to make it a nicer place and give out tzedakah and do charity and stuff like that. Okay, so now Amalei Rav Avis Aval Rav Papa. Emas ben bat Noach shehargo loy teharik. Perhaps if a female Noach, female guy killed, we don't kill her. Why? Because it says miyad ish, from the hand of a man. Loy miyad isha kisiv, and not from the hand of a woman. So maybe a woman, if she kills, she's potter. So Amalei Achim Yehuda. No. It says shayfich dam ha'adam. If you spill the blood of a person, which means mikol makam, any type of person, whether male or female, because the word adam is inclusive of the human species. The shayfich dam ha'adam, it means male, female. So ema bas noach shazinta loy taharik. Say that perhaps if a female guy commits adultery, she doesn't get executed. Because when it talks about that pasuk, Torah Shalom Dalit, Al Ken Yazov Ish et Aviv et Imo, therefore a man should leave his mother and his father for Davik Beishto, and he should cleave to his wife. There should be one. So it says the Ish, he has to leave and go do this. So perhaps Ish Veloy Isha, Amalei, Hachi Amar Yehuda, Vayu Lebasar Echad. It says they should become one flesh. Hadar Avinu Kira. It means, so in order to be one flesh, that means male and female. So therefore, the female is included. If she commits adultery, she also gets executed. All right. Now, this pasuk Al Ken Yazov Ish is a pasuk that is used to teaching the forbidden relationships by goyim. It's going to be brought in next week's daf that we're going to learn. But the Rambam sums it up, and it's going to help us understand the Gemara. So I'm going to bring it now already. So I'm going to read from the Rambam, so it's not in your Gemaras. Let's look at the Rambam for a moment. Sheish arayot asrot al bnei Noach. There are 6 types of forbidden relationships for a Noach. Ha'im, the mother, the Eshes Ha'av, and the father's wife, the Eshes Ish, and his a neighbor's wife, Ba'achoto me'imo, his sister from his mother. So sister from the father is okay. Sister from the mother, Aser, V'zachor, and being with a male, Ubehema, male being with a male, and Ubehema, and being with a animal. How do we know this? Shenemar, from this pasuk that we were reading, Al Ken Yazov Ishad Aviv, when it says, therefore a man should leave his father, Zu Ishad Aviv, that means stay away from your father's wife. The Et Imo, Kimashma, that means the mother, stay away from the mother. But Dalvak Be'ishto, he should cling to his wife, below Be'ishto Chavero, and not to his friend's wife. Be'ishto, with his wife, below Be'zachor, and not with a male. Be'yula Basar Echad, and they should be with one flesh. Lahotzi Behema Chaya Be'ov She'ein Hu Behem Basar Echad, to exclude an animal, right, which is not the same flesh as human. This is the way the Rambam quotes from next daf, the Isser of the Sheish Arayot, forbidden relationships by Goyim. So now, that's the pasuk in Bereishit. But then, Tanu Rabbanim, we learned in the Braita, it says Ish, my Talmud Leimer Ish. That's, look at the pasuk in Torah Shalom Hey. Ish she'er b'saro lo tikrivu legalot ervat ani Hashem. Every man should not come close to his relative to reveal his nakedness. So why does it say ish? So we learned in the Baita, the rabbi said, the rabot tekutim, to include goyim, shemuzharin al harot Yisrael. They are forbidden, just like Jews, to stay away from forbidden relationships. The Gemara says, you learned it from here. We learned it from a different place, from the pasuk Vayitzav that says lemor, zegil arayot. These are the sexual transgressions that are forbidden. Gil arayot. The Gemara says there's 2 places to learn it. First of all, from that pasuk Vayitzav, right? That pasuk it says lemor. You're right. Hatam ba'arayot didhu. That's where it teaches you cannot be with goyim, cannot be with goyish arayot. Right? The 6 that we brought down. But here when it says ish, that comes to include our arayot on the guy. There are certain arayot that we consider arayot by Jews, and if the guy commits these sins with a Jewess, he would be punished like a Jew. The Tani Seva, Ba al arayot Israel. If a guy comes on a arayot forbidden relationship for Jews, and he's with a Jewess and commits this forbidden relationship, Nidon B'dinei Israel. You now punish him with the punishment that would be given to a Jew. Now the question is, where does this apply? There's going to be two cases. Let's take a look. So this first case is not. This first idea is going to be taken away. But Nachum wants to say, oh, you know what it means? You're going to judge the guy like a Jew. That means if he's with a Jewess, so then, because usually I will do that, Talmud. Usually in a case of Jews, you need 23 judges. You need a warning. You need 2 witnesses. So he says, you know what it means that if a guy is with a Jewess, then you'll judge the guy like a Jew. You give him 23 judges, 2 witnesses, and all that. Whereas it says Mikra Gara, you're going to make it harder to kill him if he's with a Jewess than if he's with a non-Jewess. I mean, if he's with a Goya, you kill him faster. One judge, one witness, no warning, and all of a sudden he's with the Jews. You have to give him all these other benefits. No. That's not the case. Elam Rabbi Yochanan says, back to the Na'ara Ha'orasa. Remember that engaged, betrothed woman, right? So we learned, the Psukim told us that if a man is with a betrothed woman, she's engaged, not yet married, erison, right, and not yet chuppah, so a whole year in between. Remember, we talked about that. So if he committed adultery with that woman, dilididhu leislahu, is according to the Goyim, that's not considered a forbidden relationship. Do you remember we had the Rambam? We had the Rambam by the Shifcha that what? In order for the woman to be with the man, they have to be connected. We're going to see, in order for a guy to be with another guy's wife, to be hayab mitah, they have to be in the union. You have to be committed to each other, and he has had to have already penetrated his wife. He had to have boil her, make bia to her, in order for him to be considered his wife. Now, if the guy's with her, then you kill him. But until he's actually intimately with her, it's not considered the guy's wife, and he would not get killed for it by Goyim. So that's what we're saying. In the Na'ara Morasa, she's not intimate with her husband yet, right? So by a guy, if he's with an engaged girl, a Gaisha girl, the guy's with an engaged Gaisha girl, there's no killing. He didn't do anything. But by Jews, we consider an engaged girl, right, in the days of the Talmud, when they actually did Erusin, that it was considered adultery. And what was the punishment? Something we already learned way back was skila. You give her a stoning. So there, since by us it's considered adultery, not for the Goyim, didan lehu b'dina didan. We're going to punish him with our punishment, meaning we're going to stone the guy, because usually you kill him by the sword. But according to the Goyim, this is not a sin, but according to Jews, it is. So that's what it means. We're going to punish him like a Jew. We're going to kill him and give him stoning like you would give to the Jew. Aval Eshet Ish. But if a guy had relations with a married Jewish woman, Bedina didhu tanina lahu, would you punish him like a guy, meaning with the sword? Right? Because you're telling me only because he doesn't have a punishment for that case, so we give him the Jewish punishment. But if he's with an Eshet Ish, he does have a punishment, the sword. So if he's with an Eshet Ish of an Israelite, does he also get the sword? Vatanya bal nara morasa. If a guy is with a nara morasa, right, engaged betrothed woman, nidom skila, you give him skila. Al Eshet Ish, if he's with a married woman, nidom bechenik, you strangle him. Beibadina didhu tayifu. You're going to punish him with his own punishment. You give him the sword, right? Because he's not allowed to be with someone else's wife, even by a guy, and he usually gets a sword. So why don't you give him a sword here? So Amar Menachem Bar Yitzchak, what type of Eshes Ish are we talking about? My Eshes is Ketani. Higoin Shenichas Alachupa, the Loy Niv Allah, Diludehu Leis Lahu, Danina Lahu, Bedina Di Don. Says, what's this case? This case is, this is during the wedding. Okay, they just did the chuppah. Okay, they did the chuppah. The husband, the Jewish husband, has not yet been intimate with his wife yet. He hadn't penetrated yet. She wasn't boiled her yet. And now this guy comes and he's with her. So according by the Goyim's halacha, according to the halachas of Shemitz of Noach, he didn't do anything wrong, because until the man is with the woman, she's considered not married. So according to them, he didn't do anything wrong. But according to us, what do you mean? She's already married. Already time from the eris, and she's already considered married. So at this point, we'll give him the punishment that we would give a Jew. And we know if a Jew is with a Jewess who is already with chuppah, she's considered completely married. So then if two Jews commit adultery, we give them chenek, right? So you give him chenek. The Tani Rabbi Chanina, because Rabbi Chanina taught, bu'ulat bal yesh lahen. They have bu'ulat bal, that when they're with their husband intimately, then they're considered in a union with their husband. But if a guy the guy took his wife or his intended wife up to the altar, but he never was with her intimately, then she's not really considered his wife. And if another guy's with her, it's not hayab mita. That is the din by goyim. The whole thing is bu'ulat bal. Solomon, you have something to say?
So two standards are used for going when it comes to whichever woman is being involved in the case. If she's
what's the two standards? Oh, right. Depending if he's with a Jew or with a guy, right?
So
right.
The punishment will depend on the lady.
Right. So if it's a sin for Shemitz B'nai Noach, for the Noahites, so then you punish him. If it's one of the 6 arayot, right? So then you punish him with the sword. If he's now with a Jewess, in these two specific cases where we would kill a Jew for it, so we would kill him too, and we would punish him with the Jewish punishment. Tana Kaveh Rabbi Yochanan, as it was taught in an opinion like Rabbi Yochanan, like we just saw, called erva shebeitin sheyisrael memitin aleha. Anything that a Jewish court would kill a Jew for, ben noach muzar leha. A guy is also warned over it, and you'd be killed over it. Ein beitin sheyisrael memitin aleha. If a Jew, cases where Jews would not be killed, take a look at note 36. Here are some cases where Jews are not killed. If a Jew is with his sister of his father and mother, the wife of his brother, the wife of his father's brother, and the sister of his wife, in those cases, he gets karet. He doesn't get punished. He doesn't get killed by Beit Din on this world. So, ein bein Noach muzar aleha. A bein Noach would not be killed on it either. There was a remeir. Say, harba arayot yesh. There are many arayot she'ein Beit Din sheyisam mitin alein, that the Jews would not get killed for it. Ubein Noach muzar alein. But a Noach would get killed for it. Warned against him, would be killed for it. Okay. Now the Braita continues. Ba alarot Yisrael. If a guy comes onto arot that we consider arayot for a Jew, nidon bedini Yisrael, we kill him with the punishment that you would give the Jew. Ba alarot ben Noach. If he comes on a arayot that even for a guy, so nidon bedina b'nei Noach, then you punish him like you would punish a guy. You give him the sword. And you only have the punishment of a na'ara morasa bilvad, only a betrothed maiden. If he's with her, he gets skila. That's the only difference. The Gemara says, what? What about the case of where they did chuppah and they didn't yet be intimate? When we said the guy does that, he's also chayam mitah. Gemara says, you're right. But however, we're learning like this Braita is like Tana Devei Menashe. Tana Devei Menashe. Why? The Amar Kol Mita Amura B'Lebei Noach Ein Chenek. Because he said every time you kill a guy, you give him chenek, right? And what's the punishment you give a guy who is with a Jewess after her chuppah, yet hasn't been yet boiled with her husband? You give them chenek. But that's the same thing. Idi cheneku, right? Because according to Tana Menashe, you always give chenek to the guy. So that's the same. But according to us, to say you give the guy usually a sword, then there would be two cases. That the guy would get punished with a different punishment than the sword. Case number one, if he's with a Jewess, a female Jew, who is an Araha Morasa, and he's with her intimately, he gets skila. And if he's with a Jewess, a female Jew, who is married l'chuppah, even without yet, even if she was married and she already had a relationship, or even if she didn't, once she has chuppah, if he's with her, he would get chenik and not the sword. Okay, just to finish up, we will read the Rambam on Ashes Ish by a Noach, just to give us a clear halacha. Ein ben Noach chayiv, ein ben Noach is not chayiv, al Ashes chavero, on his friend's wife, achev olea kedarka. We didn't see this yet, so it's going to be coming up later. He has to have penetrated her vaginally. Okay, if a guy is with a goya who's married, but he penetrated her non-naturally, anally, or something like that, then he's not chayiv on that. Right? Not by Jew. By Jew is whether or either way. Darko shalei kedarka. As long as she was already with her husband intimately, then he's chayav mita. Ava ma'orasa. But if he's with a goyish girl, a guy is with a goyish girl who's engaged, or she went up to the altar, she was under the chuppah, but she wasn't yet with her husband, he's not chayiv. Ain't chayiv in aleya. He's not. Shneimar v'hi ba'ulat baal, because she was a married. She was intimate with her husband. This is a pasuk in Bereshit when Hashem comes to Elimelech, right? To Avimelech, he tells Avimelech, you were with a married woman, someone who's already been boiled. She's talking about Sarah. He's telling Avram's wife, you have Sarah, she's boiled Baal. She was already intimate with her husband. Why does Hashem say that? Because that's the only time they're punished. When they are by Goyim, they're only punished if she was already intimate with her husband. But one of these things says, when a guy goes onto a bat Noach, aval akum habal Yisraeli, but if a guy comes onto a Jewess, ben kedarka ben shaloi kedarka chayiv. So now, if a guy is coming onto a female Jew, that doesn't make a difference whether he is with her vaginally or anally. Doesn't make a difference. He's chayav mita. Vim hayta na'ara morasa nisakel aleya. If she is a engaged, he gets skila kidini Yisrael. And if he comes after her when she was already with the chuppah and she wasn't yet intimate with her actual husband, so then he gets chenik kidini Yisrael. In Baal Eshes Yisrael, achar sheniv'ala hareze kimisha Baal Eshes akum chaveyo v'yari b'stayim. But if he comes onto her once she already had chuppah and she was boiled by her husband, then if the guy is with her, he'll get the sword, because this is like the case of Eshes by a guy, and then you'll punish him the regular Eshes punishment by a guy, which would be with the sword. Okay, and that is the Rambam on those halachot. Solomon, I have that picture of that Rambam about the Shesh Arayot, but it's in Hebrew. You still want me to post it? Okay. Let me take it off recording.